and just never been fearful. Even as a kid, I just accepted at a really young age that I was probably going to die doing this shit. And it's cool. I accepted it at a young age. I accept it now. I hope I don't. You know, I'm doing what I can to be safe. But if I do, I've never felt like I belong to this realm anyway. So
living in the land of the free.
I want to just start with, you know, allowing you to have the space to speak about your legacy and started that platform, because obviously you come from a family that has always been vocal, being that your father and your grandfather. And I would love to have you speak on that and where you've gotten this empowerment, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. You know, like my father is John Ellis Ishmael Briggs. My mother is Lisa Briggs. My father is a black man from Mississippi. I was raised in Mississippi. My mother is a white woman from Wisconsin, a very powerful, compassionate healer. She's a nurse, 20 years, retired Army, very strong woman. My father, his father, my grandfather, Reverend Clyde Briggs. If you're watching this, you know, after everything is over, go Google Reverend Clyde Briggs, and you can read more about his work and his life. And he was badass. He was a reverend of several churches in Franklin County, Mississippi, a leader in the community. A lot of people, if you ask them, a lot of our elders, if you go back to Franklin County and ask them about Reverend Clyde Briggs, they put him in the same caliber as Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
Wow.
Him and his boys, his friends, his homegirls would create transportation convoys to and from voting centers so that the Klan, aka the police, wouldn't kill them for trying to vote or intimidate them. They would make these security transports, you know, just for the people. There's a famous case called Henry D. and Charles Moore, and my grandfather's journal was helped to convict the murderers of these two young boys, Henry D. and Charles Moore. They were teenagers when they were tortured in Franklin County, Mississippi in the 60s. They were tortured by Klansmen and police officers, and they were tortured because they were trying to get information from them. And that information was who's running guns in Franklin County, who's arming black citizens to protect themselves against the cops.
Wow.
The Klan. It's synonymous.
Right.
The cops and the Klan in Mississippi are synonymous. They yelled out my grandfather's name.
Wow.
And this is documented. You know, you could look this up. And I don't know. I always get a little like emotional when I speak about it. But anyhow, 6 months later, that same night that they killed these boys, you know, no one knew these boys were missing and dead yet. You know, they went to my grandfather, woke him up out of his bed, and brought him to his churches to dig up the floorboards of the church looking for these guns. They never found anything, but continued to harass my grandfather over the span of the next 6 to 8 months. They shot into my father's childhood home. There's still the bullet holes that they left up there, so us grandkids can see. When there were 6 children inside, including my pregnant grandmother at the time, shot up his home. 8 months or so, I might have the timeline a little, shortly after these boys were killed, my grandfather passed away at age 42, mysteriously, after being harassed, followed. They would tail him and try to run him off the road. They would follow him home, at which point my grandmother would come out with a shotgun and let them know, you know, he was always armed. He was always protected, so they couldn't get close to him. So many in my family believe that he was poisoned. A lot of people in my family believe he was poisoned because he came home, complained of a headache, became comatose, and died before he got to the hospital, before they took him to the hospital. So they believe someone close to him, like they got to someone to poison him. Wow. And which was a very valuable method of assassination that a lot of people don't know. Most people think, oh, someone's assassinated, they're shot in broad daylight, or their stuff is bombed. Nah, most assassinations, this goes back to ancient Greece. If you're gonna kill somebody, you kill them silently, so you don't make a martyr out of them. It makes people quail down when there's confusion surrounding the death. So a lot of my family believe that he was poisoned. My father was 7 years old when my grandfather passed away, and I think it kind of radicalized him a bit. And I say that in the most beautiful word when I say radicalized, meaning he understood that these people are willing to take strong measures to prevent Black people from having their rights. Strong measures, and he learned that as a kid. And for the rest of his, the rest of his childhood, he'll tell you, people would bring food to the house to help my grandma because she was a widow. Bring food to the house, she put it right in the garbage. She wouldn't feed the kids anything because of that fear that someone was going to poison them.
Wow.
Yeah. Right. So my father, he was being reared to kind of become a preacher. My father is an ordained Baptist preacher, but when he went off to the army, he converted to Islam. So both my mother and father converted to Islam before I was born. So I was raised on the Muslim faith. So we were made to read the Quran and do family prayer, all the things. But we were also taught to read the Gospel and the Torah, all three monotheistic religions. So my upbringing was very multi-faith, multiracial. Yeah, so my parents just always taught me and my brothers about revolutionary love, how far love and compassion can go, and that was something that was missing from these people's hearts who was attacking other people because of their race, because of their gender, because of their sexuality. They're lacking love. And so they taught us that love is a powerful, powerful weapon.
Right.
So that's kind of what has informed my activism work. And I've been an activist since I was 15, pushing petitions to get my community college renamed. Jeff Davis Community College. Jeff Davis was the president of the Confederacy. So we're pushing to get that changed. Jesse Williams, when I was 16 years old, a Black man who was tortured by cops. They put pepper spray, put a bag over his head. It's all caught on film in the holding cell. They didn't have any indictments. Me and my friends, we go and we hit the streets, and with local leaders, organizers. Like my dad taught me how to organize at a young age, My earliest memories is being 5 years old and my dad dragging me to a KKK rally as an opposing voice.
Wow.
And I don't know what's going on. I'm just 5, and he's explaining to me what's going on. Like my father never talked to me like I was a child, ever. He had me watching Holocaust documentaries as early as I was watching Disney.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so that's the kind of man Ishmael B is. So I've just always had a hunger for justice, a yearning to see anybody who doesn't have a platform. I want to use my platform to amplify their words and their story and help them. Anyone who, I don't have a lot of money, someone doesn't have money and doesn't have power to get what they need, and I want to help them. I've always had a hunger for that. And just never been fearful. Even as a kid, I just accepted at a really young age that I was probably going to die doing this shit. And it's cool. I accepted it at a young age. I accept it now. I hope I don't. I'm doing what I can to be safe. But if I do, I've never felt like I belong to this realm anyway. So.
Right. Wow. That's powerful. That's powerful, especially when you're diving in so deep and you have such a strong legacy. Do you feel any weight on your shoulders or pressure to carry that on? Seems like it's something that just naturally fuels you.
Yeah, no, I don't feel any pressure. I think my parents would love if I just got a girlfriend, married her, and start having babies and just chilled the hell out and just had a normal life.
Right.
I think my parents would be, they're like, you've done enough. Go sit your ass down somewhere and
Right.
be happy, you know.
Right.
So I don't feel any pressure from my family. I wish more people knew about my grandfather's story and my ancestors. So I like to talk about that, like when I do interviews, because I think that's how we keep the spirit of our ancestors alive. Just like that.
Absolutely.
What's that one Disney movie where they like once you start taking down the pictures and then
It's
your
like,
ancestors die in the
is that the
past?
Prince of Egypt?
Nah, it's a new movie. Anyone in the comments know it's like a movie? I think it's a Mexican family.
Oh, ah, ah,
It's named after the grandma in the movie.
yeah, I forget what it's called.
Come on, none of y'all know the movie? Coco,
Oh,
yes, thank you, Nina.
Coco, yes.
Coco, thank you, Benny.
Yeah,
What up, little
yeah.
cuz? Young Apollo in the house. Coco, thank you, Audrey. So yeah, Coco talks about this thing where, you know, they have these you know, they have the picture and they honor their ancestors, and that's how you keep them alive in the next life.
Right.
So that's how I feel about my grandfather. So I wear, you know, I wear my dog tags with the hologram of my grandfather and grandmother on both sides on my chest. And I talk about them every chance I get because they're very powerful. And I know that their stories will still inspire young leaders today,
Absolutely.
as long as they're able to hear it. So that's the only pressure I kind of feel, is just like to keep their memories alive and their legacy. And I love that you use the word legacy, because a lot of our generation misunderstand fame versus legacy.
Totally.
Fame versus legacy. You got a lot of these kids, they want to, you know, be a celebrity. It don't matter what they do. They will copycat anyone, whoever sounds hot. They will make music that sounds just like them. They will go to the grocery store and lick ice cream and put it back. Well, whatever they can do for fame.
Right.
Not understanding that legacy is where it's at. Legacy is the power to inspire and motivate generations to come.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So there's a big difference, and I'm an extension of someone else's legacy.
Totally.
You get what I'm saying? So
Totally.
any notoriety that or recognition I get, it's not fame to me. It's not my fame. It's the extension of a legacy. That's why I use my platform to speak about my family history so much.
Totally. Absolutely. And I feel like that's important, and I'm blown back by the story. I mean, I'm going to ask, I'm going to just keep it going then. Is there a moment that you remember from your grandfather that is something that you carry with you that's like, that is just a story that embodies his story, his history, other than what you already said? Because you've already said a lot, actually.
Yeah. If your viewers go and when they Google Reverend Clyde Briggs, an article is going to pop up called "Fighting Back in Klan Nation." And in that article, you'll hear testimonials, because he was also a teacher. He was a preacher, a teacher, and an activist. Back then in the 60s in Franklin County, Mississippi, you would have 2 teachers for 400 students in black schools, in the black segregated schools. 2 teachers for 400 students. So those students couldn't get that attention, you know, and they couldn't afford class rings. And a lot of them couldn't go to school because they were helping in the fields and helping in the farm so that their family could eat. They would only go to school for a couple of months a year because, you know, they had to survive too. And you get to hear from some of those kids who my grandfather taught and how attentive he was. He would never let them just be cool, being, how do I say, he always saw their potential, right? And always pushed them towards that highest potential. He never, he was like, you know, don't think that you're good just because you're getting by. Like, you have the potential to be that much greater. Like, he always talked to them like that. Same way my dad talked to me. Mediocrity, that's the word I was looking for. Mediocrity was not an option, even though there was all this stuff in these kids that says they're not human, right? They don't deserve a good education. They deserve to be poor. You know, they're blacks in Mississippi. Who the hell are you? All this pressure on them. He was like,
Right.
nah, you could be the greatest, whatever you want to be, you know? And like, that is what sticks out the most about my grandfather. Like, how do you hold on to that vision in such a hopeless atmosphere? Like, I
Right.
don't even know if I'd be able to do that.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like, how do you hold that vision, and then not only hold it, but like instill that vision in the youth in your community,
Right.
while you're being harassed and all the pressures on you, you
Right.
know? Yeah.
Right. Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. Um, from what I know, obviously, a lot of your passion is formed in music, hip hop, poetry.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
that's how we like connected. Um, what was that moment where you decided to use that as an avenue, and how has that avenue been able to spread your message?
Yeah. I want to give another quick shout out to Azriel, because without her, you and I wouldn't have met. And
Totally.
Ozzy has actually connected me to a lot of great people that I still work with today. So shout out to Azriel, man. She a real one.
She real.
Um, so, oh man, there's some things like I'm not super comfortable talking about, like with some recent diagnosis with my mentality or the way that I'm wired. I'm not quite ready to talk about it, but I will say that as a child, I was super shy. Like, I didn't really speak. You know, if it wasn't my immediate family. And, you know, I got pulled out of school around kindergarten. I don't know if that was just due to my age or my birthday, but, you know, I remember going somewhere and then crying every time my parents took me. And I see my brothers across the fence and just cry. So I don't think I was really performing. So my parents just took me out. And then in the third grade, I like took an IQ test and all this stuff. And I don't know, I just like wouldn't speak. I was just super introverted. And then I ended up moving schools after that IQ test, and I went to a different school, and I was in that same program for 2 years, and it was a creative writing program. So I don't know, like, I don't really know exactly what happened. I've been trying to talk to my parents about it to see what it is, but that creative writing class, like, that's all we did for 2 years. Like, we learned other subjects, but it was very focused, and I didn't switch classrooms. I was in the same homeroom for 2 years with third and fourth graders, and we rode a short bus together. I remember going to the new school, and the new bus that came to pick me up was a little tiny bus. But anyway, so I was writing poetry really, really early. And one of my earliest poems, I still remember this poem. And I turned it in as an assignment in the third grade. And my teacher said that I plagiarized the poem.
Wow.
That I plagiarized the poem. He was like, I can't find anything on it, but it's like, you know, you didn't write this. And
Wow.
I know I wrote it. You know, I didn't even understand the concept of plagiarizing and copying people's work and any of that. But I'm gonna tell you the poem. It's super short. It goes, to die down low in state of mind, the power of seeing, not being blind. Let leader teach you, may you learn. If you teach them, is it your leader's concern? Lay stray of the path, you may feel the wrath. While I am a sinner, lay tip on your lips. It's too late. We're in state of apocalypse.
Whew.
And I don't know what that means. I still don't know what it means, but I was just always writing. Still quiet, still not talking. Age 11.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm still like,
Yo, age 11, someone introduces me to Apocalypse Now.
mm-hmm.
Brenda's got a baby. I see this video, and no one in my family is like into hip hop. My parents never played it. My brothers weren't into music. I saw Brenda's got a baby, and I was like, what is this? Like, this man is talking about issues in his community using poetry, and he's getting paid for it.
Right.
And it was just like so emotional. I was like, this is what I want to do.
Right.
That's what I want to do. But I still didn't really push to do it. You know, it was just one kid. I was probably 11. My brothers hung out with this older kid named Jimmy Lofton. Shout out to Jimmy if you're watching. He was 14 at the time. We would always just all hang out, him and his little sister, me and my brothers. One day we were in the room and he was into hip hop. He goes, "Yo, let's all, I got this beat on like a cassette tape or something. Let's all write to this beat and come back and see what everyone does." So I'm the last to go. Everyone rapped their rap and I rap my little rap and Jimmy's like, "Yo, like you're good at this." I was like, "Oh, okay, thanks." He was like, "No, like you should do this." And I was 11.
Wow.
And that was the first time I felt like my voice was heard.
Wow.
And so hip hop brought me out of my mind, like took me out of my mind and put me into the world. Like the world wasn't so confusing anymore. The world wasn't so scary anymore. I didn't feel invisible anymore. And like I just started rapping and like I became like a little local celebrity in Mississippi. You know, the radio station WJZD spotted my talent early, picked me up, had me opening up for the Yin Yang Twins, Trillville, Juvenile, anyone who came through the town, they had me opening up for them. And like, hip hop gave me my voice. Like hip hop gave me this power and without it, we wouldn't be talking today.
Right. Right.
None of this, none of that, anything I've been able to accomplish, if hip hop hadn't brought me out of my head, it wouldn't have happened.
Right. Right. From being someone
What's up,
who
Lord Sophia?
too shy to speak.
Sorry,
Got,
I see some people in the chat.
oh no, you're good. You're good. From being someone who had trouble speaking to being someone who not only has a voice but empowering other people to have a voice. You speak on a lot of real important issues. Right now is more timely than ever, you know, and what I really want to dive into this. And I've been wanting to talk to you about this for the longest. It's only right that we talk about it publicly. And that is, you took a very, very strong stance. Those who don't know, Genesis Be, she, as she said earlier, she's always fighting the Confederate ideology and the symbolisms in Mississippi. Mississippi, which is the first thing I want to talk about, is Mississippi is like the from what I know, Mississippi is like the melting pot for racial tension. You know,
The belly
like,
of the beast.
yeah, it's like the cornerstone.
What up, nigga? Safe?
Right. Now you good. Keep doing the shout outs. It's dope.
Okay.
Yeah. And you, a pivotal moment where you grabbed the noose and you put it around your neck, and you also burnt the flag on stage, and that gave you a lot of attention, national news, blah 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 blah. But that don't really mean shit because
I did not burn the flag. I did not.
You did not burn the flag. The crowd did.
That's false information that newspapers printed about me. Mm-hmm.
Got you. See, I'm glad
a lot of that went on. It's okay. That's why I'm here. That's why I can speak for myself.
I'm glad we cleared that up. Yeah, I mean, I want to know what was that experience like? What was the moment where you decided to do this? Why, and you know, how did that feel? You know what I mean? Because it seems like it would be an explosion of so many emotions.
Bruh, it was so crazy. So I retired. I'm not retired. I put in what do you call when you like quit your job? Resign. I resigned from my job at the Ace Hotel, Fifield, Breslin in 2016 March. I resigned. I had a full-time, dope-ass job as an event coordinator at the Ace. I resigned and said, you know, I just want to do my art and activism full-time. That was March of 2016. April 2016, my Governor Phil Bryant at the time, says, April is Confederate Heritage Month. We are celebrating Confederate Heritage Month, and it's all over the news. It's all over the news. And I get pissed off. I'm like, why are we celebrating Confederate Heritage Month? These are the same people who brutalized and tortured and raped and terrorized our people, other American people. So I got mad and I bought a Confederate flag and noose from Amazon. I didn't know what I was going to do with that. I knew I wanted to eventually, during the month of April, do something with it. I had a manager at the time, RobYoung Genesis Be, and she was booking me these shows. She didn't know what I was going to do. Nobody knew what I was going to do. But I had 2 shows that day, that month. One opening up for Mobb Deep and Smith & Wesson. Smith & Wesson and Mobb Deep were the headliners. So I went and did that show. Some things got messed up with the show. There was some folks fighting, and it got, you know, violent and shut down. I couldn't do what I kind of wanted to do. So the last show in April was at SOB's, Faces in the Crowd, and I only had like a 6-minute set. I had a backpack with the flag and the noose, and I say, I'm gonna bring this backpack on stage. Still nobody knows except my brother, Israel. He was living with me at the time. He knew what I was gonna do. So I go, I perform a song called Donald Trump Chump, or some song y'all never heard of. I never put it out. I just performed it that one night. And I took the noose, I put it around my neck, and I had already cut a hole in the Confederate flag, and it draped. It's a full body drape. And I hold up the noose, and I hold up my fist with the mic, and someone snapped a picture. I was dating this girl at the time, Imani Saida, and after the show, she was like, I've never seen you like that on stage. It was like you were blacked out. She was like, I never heard your voice. Like, your voice changed, the look in your eyes changed, and it did. I did black out. I don't even remember. I see the video, you know, the video and like the documentary that was put out. Like, I see myself on stage. I don't remember. But the owner of the club, or the manager of the showcase, got really scared because I did take out a lighter and I threatened to burn it. I was like, should I burn this shit? And the crowd got really excited and was like, yeah, burn that shit. And he got really, you know, so I decided not to burn it because that's dangerous to other people there. You know, I was never going to burn it. It was all theatrics. But I did throw it into the crowd and say, y'all tear this shit apart for me. Y'all tear, and that's on video. And they did. They tore it apart. The picture of me holding the noose with my fist up. After the show, I went on Facebook, and this post still exists. I say, after tonight, nothing will be the same for me. The next day, that picture went viral. It just took off. And there's all these threats against me. There's all these people, da-da-da. The New York Daily News picks it up. Breitbart picks it up. It was just explosive. And next thing I know, I'm on ABC News with Anjanou Ellis. Anjanou is a famous actress. She was Nat Turner's mother in Birth of a Nation. She's in Quantico, The Help, Undercover Brother. She's Sister Girl. But she's from Mississippi. She's from Macomb, where we call it the Gulf Coast. That's where we're from. So her and I teamed up that year, and everywhere she was, I was. She was like, yo, I'm going on Roland Martin's show. There I am right next to her on the Roland Martin show. You know, she really like scooped me up because she was like, okay, we're fighting for the same cause.
Right.
So that's how that happened, from start to not even to finish, because then there was a documentary where I went back down to Mississippi to confront the people who was attacking me online. That documentary is called Confederate Pride, White Supremacy, and My State Flag. If y'all want to watch that, by the Moral Courage Project. And that documentary did extremely well because it showcased the civil discourse that we started around humanizing the issue of the Mississippi state flag. And bruh, it's just been on ever since then. That was 2016. I've just been on the road and touring and speaking about my state and trying to educate people about civil discourse and how to really come together and listen instead of fighting online and like all of this trash that goes back and forth online. It's just disheartening, you know?
Right. I mean, that is the epitome of legacy, and I can automatically already hear a line being drawn between your grandfather, your father, and yourself. You know what I mean? Even the experiences of being attacked, really. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm going to go back and watch the documentary because I feel like that's important, you know? Especially with what's going on right now. A lot of people have been allies, like we talked about earlier, are always asking, what can they do? What can they do? What can they do? And the
Right.
most important thing, as you said, which I totally agree, is educate yourself.
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand how far the reach of systemic racism is. They think it just like started and ended with George Floyd. You know what I mean? It's like, wow,
Right.
it's like, no.
Yep.
I've been telling them,
Way back.
I've been telling my
Way.
white friends I've been black for 34 years. So you know what I'm saying? Like, I've always been black. I don't know if y'all, but so it's definitely something that's important. So I want to take this time for you to educate people on that history of the Confederate flag and what's going on right now, because now it's popped back up in the news after recently in April during the coronavirus situation. They kind of slipped in another Confederate Heritage Month with the governor. Now it's popped back in where it's at the forefront and statues are being brought down, and your fight is coming to fruition, you know?
Yeah. It's still really fresh to me that the surrounding states are starting to bring down the Confederate monuments. I think Alabama just sweepingly just brought it down out the blue, like overnight, a couple nights ago. And I'm still trying to wrap my brain around that. And like, Mississippi has always been different from the rest of the states in the South. It's always been the most brutal. Like when the Freedom Riders was doing their Freedom Ride, you know, the coordinators told them straight up, like, whoever decides to go here, you could die. You will probably die. You know, like those were the conversations that were being had because Mississippi was just notorious. The two young Jewish guys who came to set up literacy schools, Michael Schwerner, Andrew Goodman, and Cheney, the three guys you see in all the history posts, they were a poster, they were missing, like they came down, they were just taken out, no problem. Mississippi is always the most brutal. So I can't say that I have hope that tonight I'm going to go to bed and wake up and all the statues in Mississippi are going to be gone or that my state flag is going to be changed. Mississippi's always done things different. I don't think the power structure in Mississippi will concede without force. And I really pray that that's not true, because I really don't want to go to jail. I really don't want to get killed, but I don't think that they're going to concede without force. And I pray they prove me wrong. I hope right now, today, there's an article that came out saying that Mississippi lawmakers have shown earnest today to try to get the state flag changed. And I have hope. I'm trying not to get my hopes up because I don't want to be brokenhearted again, but it's like they're still soaring. I'm like, yo, what if? What if I wake up and that shit is gone?
Right.
Sorry, I just get emotional talking about it. What it stands for, what the Confederacy stood for, was they fought against the American government. They wanted to keep their right to own slaves. There's a speech called the Cornerstone Speech when they were launching the Confederacy that speaks about Black people, and what they say about the Negro, or whatever they're calling it in this, is that their highest potential is that of servitude. This is what they based the Confederacy off of. And yet you still have people, ignorant people who don't read the history. They just listen to what their grandparents tell them and say it wasn't about slavery. It's not a racist symbol. No, the whole basis of the Confederate ideology rests on this foundation that Black people are only worthy of the dignity of servitude as a slave. This is our lot in life. This is what we're made for, is to serve white people. You get what I'm saying? So the fact that Mississippi is 40% Black and there's racist statues up, our state flag has the Confederate emblem in it, and I'm talking about on public property that we all paid for. Our tax dollars paid for this shit. It's unacceptable. It's a non-negotiable that it changes. Like, I can't rest until it changes. And when it does, to be honest, I'm probably just gonna leave America and go enjoy my life somewhere else. I'll just be like, okay, I did my part.
Right.
So after the Civil War, like during Reconstruction and all that, Mississippi was 80% Black. So when the question of the black vote came into question, and they're like, oh, these people might get the chance to vote and they're going to outnumber us. What's the solution? This is when you had the exodus of black people from Mississippi. That's why when you go to Chicago, all your black friends are like, oh yeah, my grandmother is from Mississippi. You go to Harlem, you go to Los Angeles and Compton, it's like they're from Mississippi because there was a mass exodus. And the reason all the black folks left Mississippi was because they were being terrorized. They were being, a little boy could steal a loaf of bread and he's going to jail for life. Now there's sharecropping where they say, well, you don't have anywhere else to go. We'll give you this little cabin on the land, but you need to work for your stay. Back into slavery. There it is. They found ways to keep people in servitude, and those who tried to get their own land and all that, they just killed them. And they knew that you're just going to get killed. You're going to get lynched. Women are going to get raped. Our ancestors were raped. They were brutalized. And I say it like that because it's the truth. Because they needed that 80% to go down before people got a right to vote, because black people are the majority. They couldn't have that. So when you say KKK and terrorism, that's exactly what the KKK was. Strike fear in people so that they'll leave and kill off the rest until we're at where we are now, which is 40% black, which is the highest amount per capita in the nation. And yet our state flag has a Confederate emblem on it. Like, get the fuck out of here. It's insane. It's insane.
Right. Insanity. How important that symbolism is and what it stands for. And I don't understand how we're still having this fight, you know. I feel like this should have been dealt with, you know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of people, not only in America, but around the world, is waking up and just now starting to wake up. On that note, I want to go back to our previous conversation. And how does that feel? To know that people are starting to wake up, and to know that this is a conversation, and to feel like you have people riding with you now, you know?
I've always felt very alone fighting for things in Mississippi. Not alone because I don't have collaborators here who are fighting for the same thing, because I do. Shout out Poor People's Campaign, Mississippi. Shout out WJZD, Mississippi Rising Coalition. You know, there's organizations who are fighting. I don't mean alone in that sense, but alone when I travel and tour around the nation, that people, they're fascinated and by the romantic aspect of fighting here in Mississippi, but they don't really want to help. They don't really care about Mississippi. It's just always an afterthought. There's like America, and then there's like Mississippi, and we don't really belong to America. We're like our own little sovereign place, and people just don't really care. Like, you know, why would they care about Mississippi? So I've always felt alone. But after seeing what's happening now with protests calling for the justice for George Floyd and other black people who have been killed and maimed and paralyzed by the police, and it's worldwide. If I know it sounds weird, even if they're not thinking about Mississippi, it still feels like they're with us. And it's still, because like Mississippi leadership is still seeing that and being like, feeling that pressure from that, of like, whoa, like there's a lot of pressure. Like, what if that happened here? Like, what if 40% of the fucking population, excuse my language, 40% of the population start rioting here just because we have our state? And it can happen. And that's why I said earlier, it's like, I pray that they make the right decision, because I can't say that there's going to be a peaceful resolution if they don't change that flag soon and take these statues down soon, because we're all seeing what I and my collaborators and Mississippians are all seeing what's happening in Alabama, in Florida, in all these places where these statues are just being, people are pulling them down, you know,
pulling
people
them
are
down.
setting them on fire.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
To my knowledge, I'm not saying no one's done that here yet. There have been some instances, but like, I'm telling you, man, it's just like, I just want them to do the right thing. Like, put it in museums. Like, Germany took Nazi memorabilia and put it in museums where it belongs so people can learn from history. They
Right.
put the truth in their school books. Elementary school
Right.
kids can tell you about the Holocaust, and it's not whitewashed. It's like
Right.
real.
Right.
And they
Absolutely.
take those kids to speak with survivors of the Holocaust, and they make it a dialogue about how we can do better as a nation.
Exactly.
You know, reparations. They did all that. What's
Right.
America doing?
Nothing.
And I'm just saying, it's like, how much indignity can you place upon a people and then expect them not to fuck shit up?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it makes sense to me. You know, people are like, hey, Genesis, why you not calling for the end of the riots? Why you not using it? That shit makes sense to me. I want to fuck some shit
Right.
up.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, we all sense a bubbling that's going on right now.
Right.
And a lot of emotions from being pushed back and pushed back and pushed back and pushed back for so long.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, the pot's bubbled over, you know what I mean? A lot of what we hear is they should be peacefully marching, and then they use Martin Luther King as a caricature, which I cannot stand, because it's like Martin Luther King got assassinated, and he was a revolutionary. He was not. Yeah, you cannot make him a cartoon. Yeah, and he was hard body. Like he wasn't this cartoon that they create him to be. You know what I mean?
No, he was a real threat to the system.
And they killed him. Exactly. And so all of these, I feel like all these dialogues are really important to where we're at, because people are waking up to what has been going on for so long in America and the trauma that Black people have had for so long. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
And now you're seeing it in anger. What I really fear is that we will go through this time and it'll die down, and then we have to wait till it happens again to go through it again, because that has been the routine that we have seen constantly over and over and over again.
Right.
Where allies for a time being, and we even see people be allies just because it's cute. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I really do believe, that's why I say I really believe the work that you're doing and continuing to do is so important, because you're on a marathon. You know what I'm saying? And it's not a sprint. It's definitely a marathon. You know?
Yeah.
And with saying that, and almost to, man, I don't want to say contradict, because it's all synonymous. Earlier you said how love is a form of strong resistance, and love is is a power to fight what's going on. And love sometimes can be violent, and especially in these situations. You know what I'm saying? When you're fighting for others' freedom.
Yeah.
You started People Not Things, and that's been a foundation that you've utilized to get your message out. And I really want to have you expand on it, and how you believe that we could transition from this moment in time to move past it. Like you said, let's just say the flag did come down, which is what we're all going to pray on, you know?
Thank you. Y'all send up your energy for that, for sure.
Absolutely, because I feel like that would be very monumental historically. It'd be very monumental. Yeah. What would be the next thing? How would we rectify the past? How would we move forward from then?
Yeah, I think we look to other countries and nations. There's this very great documentary called Where to Invade Next by Michael Moore. It's called Where to Invade Next by Malcolm Moore, where he goes to these nations, and granted, most of them are European. You know, I will put that out there. But we need to look all over the world and learn from nations who are getting it right, who are getting healthcare right, who are getting prison reform or prison right, who are getting reparations and atonement right, like I spoke about Germany. I think South Africa and other African nations have a lot to offer in terms of what we can learn from them. I think America needs to learn. I mean, we just need to learn. And that's for myself, too. Like, I'm privileged as an American. I never have to really think about other countries unless I want to. You know, so
Right.
I carry that privilege, too. And I think when I say people, not things, a lot of times people think that I'm saying people over profit, which is like part of it. But really what I'm saying is people are not the labels that we ascribe to them, whether it be black, white, rich, poor, gay, straight, trans. Like, these might be, I guess, attributes of people, but all humans are complex humans who are deserving of dignity. So when I say people, not things, I mean people are not things.
Mm-hmm.
And when we start to look at people as things, that's how you get exploitation in a capitalistic structure, because you're looking at people as things to be exploited, not humans to be honored and respected and extended rights to. So that's what I mean by people, not things. So we have to start doing a lot of unlearning of the biases that we're taught from the church, from our communities, from the media. They all instill these biases in our brain that keep us divided from each other. Even the concept of black and white. And I'll say this straight up. There's no such thing as a black person. I ain't never seen a black person in my life. Y'all know what the color, this is color black. I mean, there might be some folks whose skin tone is like that, you know, not overlooking them. I've never seen a white person. I've never seen a person who look like that. These are all constructs. And we all play into it. And this race, that race. There's no separate race.
Right.
We are Homo sapiens. This is
right.
a species on Earth is Homo sapiens. There's no such thing as race. This is constructed as a way to justify the exploitation of another people.
Exactly.
This isn't taught in our schools, bruh. I didn't learn this until some of my Audre Lorde radical black feminist homegirls was like, you know, think bigger. They taught me to think bigger. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, how come that's not being taught to the construct of racism being taught to every single child in America? That's what I mean by people, not things. It's the unlearning and relearning of human history. Because if not, these same structures, patriarchal, capitalistic structures, are going to continue to use our differences as a way to divide and conquer us. And it's not just race, it's class, it's sexuality, it's all of these differences that make us uniquely beautiful. All these differences in different cultures, like with the, excuse my accent, y'all, I'm preaching to the choir, I feel like, you know, like y'all know all of these different cultures that are meant to be celebrated and learned from. Instead, we degrade and exploit.
Exactly.
So people, not things. And excuse my accent, I feel like it's saying the same thing. So that's what we work towards. And healing the earth. Because without healing the earth and looking the way that our ancestors worshiped the earth and understood the power and beauty of earth, we have to get back to that too. So it means unlearning a lot of things, because without the earth, you know, we're gone. There's no people or things.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're definitely fighting the same fight. You know, a lot of the things that I say is, I feel like in our education system, our education should represent the people, the melting pot that we've created called America. And so that should be reflected in every class and every course. And if we're able to actually take the time to learn about each other, you know, then maybe we could be raised with a sense of empathy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. What up, Diana? What up, Rachel? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, you're good.
I see a lot of people up in here. I'm appreciative that they tuning in. That's what's up.
Absolutely. No, this is great. Absolutely. And I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I really wanted to make sure. Actually, the next thing I was going to say is tell us about what's happening next. Tell us about what you're doing. I know you're protesting. I know you're staying vocal. Actually, now that I got you back, I gotta have you do it. You gotta do the poem. You got it. Can do if you don't want to, it's cool.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
I have a feeling I'm not going to be doing this poem very often, so it might be the last time. Who knows?
Hey, I'm taking it. I am definitely absolutely here for it. And then I'd love to have this be our sign off. I want to make sure that you plug everything, including your nonprofit, um, and and what you're doing next. But I gotta hear this. You gotta.
Yeah, I'll do my plugs first, and then once I finish the poem, we can sign off. So thank you again for having given me this opportunity to share my thoughts and hold space. I really appreciate you and everybody. You have to excuse my accent, family. Love what y'all are doing. My organization is called Strive Till I Rise. Strive Till, like Till for Emmett Till. Strive Till I Rise is a youth empowerment program that uses hip hop to educate young folks about voting rights, consumer rights, all the good stuff. And y'all can make tax deductible donations to Strive Till I Rise. It goes straight into my efforts of everything that I'm doing with my artistry and activism. So this piece is called Mississippi, the Microcosm of America. I've been touring with this piece for almost 2 years now, nationwide, and it is usually a national audience. I did it pretty much for the first time in Jackson on Friday at our protest, and you can see the full poem on my Facebook IGTV that I just posted today. So Mississippi is a microcosm of the nation. Mass incarceration, police exoneration, Black and brown bodies a commodity. Mothers separated from babies, border policy. You see, our White House is painted by the Klan's ideology, and our leadership is exploiting white poverty, keeping us separate and divided, gay versus straight, white versus black, far from the truth, far from the facts. See, I hail from a state called the mighty Mississippi. My state flag holds the stars and bars praising a brutal history. It flies in front of schools and in my judge's court, sending a clear message to us that our lives are not important. Because my dad was only 5 when the Klan drive-by bust bullets into his house with 6 children inside. On the back of the truck, a Confederate flag flying high. And these are the truths that you choose to deny. See, Mississippi, like America, eats your child and mine. The white supremacist lies, a prison of your own design. You forfeited your humanity in order to deny mine. Because Mississippi is a microcosm of a nation that gaslights this generation. See, where I'm from, children walk across stages at their own graduations with the racist symbol waving, and just a display is saying that we are forgotten and forsaken and disrespected on the daily. Decades of discrimination with lynchings and devastation. Your supremacy is a lie. You accepted it. A Confederate curse you inherited. Bigotry is blinding, and your fear of the other has blocked your own blessings from your sisters and brothers. Outrage, fatigue, I'm screaming I can't breathe. From the top it trickles down, from our judges to police. Because the illusion of freedom is far more dangerous than any jail cell or cramped cages. Yes, Mississippi is a microcosm of my nation, where cowards replace white sheets with fake avatars, repeating their parents' folklore, tooth fairy Santa Claus. The history's whitewashed. Google black codes and bylaws. In the comment section, sound off, sound off. Lord, they sound off. They call me a nigga, a bitch, or a dyke. Call me whatever you like. I've been through worse in this fight, and the hatred in your words is proves that I'm right. Because Mississippi is a microcosm of a country that always needed me but never wanted me. My melanin and skin is a sin, sentence to build your economy. Pack the prisons, fill the quota, make us felons, never voters. Travel bans and deportation, killer cops, no resignation. There's federal indictments and mock trials. See, my heart bleeds as the billboard reads, make America white again as my favorite rapper concedes. Making me question everything that I believe. But still, I love America because I have hope. Some choose to jump ship and some Steer the boat. See, I know that love and humanity lives in the smile of every child and the heart of every kid. So be brave enough to break the curse. We need you at the polls, out in droves, fighting against the bigots you oppose. Study law, run for office, make a call, write your Congress. Read a book or choose a march. Malcolm's gone, grab the torch. I said read a book or write a rap. Speak with truth and deal with facts, because freedom and justice are under attack. Alt-right affiliation of Trump's administration, Confederate infiltration, neo-Nazi showing faces. Just fueling the fear and the hatred while expanding their corporations. Do you see now how Mississippi is a microcosm of my nation? Thank you.
Excuse my accent.